Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Sports Inquirer Show. This is Emar Silver 2. Hope all of you are well out there in the world. We're recording this on December 11th, 2020, heading towards the end of the calendar year. Got a full show for you. Going to recap all the NFL action from previous week and preview the upcoming action. We'll also get into the technical state of Georgia athletics. We break down some college basketball and college football. But as always, you want to follow everything that we're doing, head to the mothership, thesportsinquirer.net. You pretty much cite for news and notes in the world of sports. You can also head to our Twitter and Instagram pages, which are under the Sports Inquirer. That's all one word. Facebook, you go to the Sports Inquirer. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes under the Sports Inquirer. So do all of those things, and that'll be a great way to keep track of everything we have going on. Things are doing well here, or going well. We're heading towards the end of the calendar year, transitioning from some of the fall sports heading towards the end of their years in college football, for example. But now we're having college basketball starting up. So there's a transition there. We also have NBA preseason action starting tonight, in fact. After we record the show, we're going to watch the Hawks play their first preseason game. And so we'll be covering that and checking out all the things going on there. But first, let's go straight to the Gridiron Blitz and the NFL. My thoughts on that. As I've been saying all year, the way the NFL has been working is you have squads that are really evenly matched. And you saw from last week, there's 37 games have had teams overcome a deficit of at least 10 points to win the contest, which is the most through week 13 in NFL history. The Saints defeated Atlanta 21-16 after they were trailing Detroit Lions. They overcame a 10-point deficit to beat Chicago 34-30. So those are examples of things like that have been happening over the past few weeks. And as I said, the most 10 plus point comebacks in the history of the NFL through the first 13 weeks of a season. The Saints actually secured their fourth consecutive playoff berth with that victory. And we'll get to the Saints a little bit later in the preview, but just want to mention that. I watched a little bit of New England and the Rams last night. I think you're just seeing the reality that the Patriots are not a good team. You could blame the defense that got ran on a lot in that contest. You could blame Cam Newton and the offense of the Patriots that produced not much at all. Newton only threw for, I think, 111, 115 yards. I had an interception. The reality is they're not a good team. And it's going to happen. And they've had so many runs of playoff appearances, 10 plus wins in a season. That's all coming to an end. And obviously, the Tom Brady, him departing from the team, is a factor in that. I mean, he's arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, one of the greatest. And him leaving is obviously going to leave a bit of a deficit as far as what's going on. But you also see the lack of general manager skills of Bill Belichick. You look at that squad, and they have a bottom five talent roster in the NFL. And while Brady would prop up a lot of that with his skill and his play, the reality is that without Brady, and even with the Cam Newton, who he is not the same quarterback he was in Carolina. I think you have to admit that. Physically, he's had some rushing touchdowns, and that's a good thing. But his accuracy's always been in question, and he hasn't been very accurate this year at all. And you look at the weapons that he's throwing to his receivers, his tight ends, not very good at all. And plus, he's running for his life because he's getting sacked a lot. So you add all of that stuff together. Watching that contest last night was really the reality sinking in that the Patriots are not who we thought they were. Now we know next year they can remove Cam Newton. I mean, Cam Newton's on a 1 year deal worth really not much. They have a lot of salary cap room. If they keep up at this rate, they'll have a top 15 ish pick in the NFL draft. They can roll with that. But for this season, they're just not going to be a playoff team. And that's the reality of it. So that's what you see from there. Moving on to some other contests that we're going to see this upcoming weekend. Look at Kansas City at Miami. Kansas City, we'll now get to Mahomes and all of his statistics. Actually, not too much, just his usual business. You know who he is. But two has been very interesting for me from Miami. He had 296 yards and one touch passing and one touchdown and no interceptions in their win over Cincinnati last week. Second quarterback in Super Bowl era with at least one touchdown pass and zero picks in each of his first five career games. Only other guy to do that is Jeff Kemp. If you were able to pick that answer out, I would have given you $1 to shake your hand and job well done. I would have never gotten that trivia answer. But you start to see some maturation from him in that quarterback position. I was not did not like the initial move to remove Ryan Fitzpatrick from the starting spot. They were playing above 500. They're in contention for the playoffs, outside shot of the division, and you make that move. But I look back on it now, Tua does give them the interesting dynamic at the QB position. And so I'm interested to see what goes on there. Arizona faces the Giants. Respect to the Giants, and I grew up a New York Giants fan, being from New York City originally, and I've seen the highs, Parcells era, Tom Coughlin, Eli Manning, Phil Simms, Lawrence Taylor. I've seen the lows, Ray Handley, Dave Brown, Danny Cannell starting. Well, Cannell made the playoffs, so I got to respect that. Dan Reeves was kind of a mixed bag. John Fossil, head coach. So I've seen all the highs and lows of that franchise since the 80s. And this has really been one of the more surprise developments of the franchise during this time. Now, are they Super Bowl contender? No. Are they even going to finish 500 in the season? Probably not. But you have to give credit to Joe Judge, the head coach, who came in with some skepticism. Special teams coach for the Patriots. We've seen all the other former assistant Patriots struggle in other positions as head coach at other spots. But the team's plays hard for him. They have the defense is playing very well. And then when Saquon Barkley got injured against Chicago out for the year with a knee injury, you thought they'd really go downhill. But they have found a way to stay competitive and relevant. And then Daniel Jones, him being out the hamstring injury, we saw Colt McCoy win a contest for them. So you add all of that together, the Giants are playing at a very respectable level. And they've made some good offseason moves. Gettleman, the general manager, who we've been very critical of in the past, it looks like he's built a solid squad. And as it's the NFC East, so you can't go too crazy with the accolades because I think a 7-win team is going to win that division, which is not exactly the most glowing reference of elite football. But you have to give respect and credit for them sticking in the playoff race and sticking in the division race. And that's so they face the Arizona team that you don't know what you're going to get from them. So I'm intrigued by that contest. Minnesota at Tampa. I like what I'm seeing from Justin Jefferson, the rookie wide receiver for the Vikings. He had 9 catches for 121 yards and a TD in their win over Jacksonville last week. So he now has 1,039 receiving yards this year, which he's the fifth rookie to have at least 1,000 yards to his first 12 career games in the Super Bowl era. So he joins Odell Beckham, Antoine Bolden, Marcus Colston, and Randy Moss. So very good company for Justin Jefferson. I thought before the draft we were looking at CeeDee Lamb as possibly the best wide receiver in the draft, and Justin Jefferson, from LSU, kind of slid in under the radar as a mid first round pick, but he has delivered in a major way, and they have played at a high level over the past few weeks with Dalvin Cook running the ball, Kirk Cousins extending plays and getting the ball out there. The Vikings have put themselves in a position. I don't know if they're a playoff team, but at least they're in the conversation. Tampa is a team that we've chronicled their struggles and their ups and downs with Tom Brady. We all know the story, him going to Tampa, a whole new set of players for him to deal with. Bruce Arians, head coach. We don't know if he really likes Tom Brady. He's very critical. Kind of some passive aggressive tones as well. But I think they had a bye week, and I think that they are going to do more. They have to cater more to what Tom Brady likes to do. You have to see some play action, some motion, things along those lines, short passes, use the tight ends more often. They're trying to have Tom Brady throw the ball down the field deep so much, and that's not his game. That was never really his game. The only time we saw him throw it deep is that one year where they went undefeated in the regular season. He had 50 plus touchdowns. Randy Moss set the record for most TD receptions in a year. Outside of that, we've seen ball control, quick passes. He's made superstars out of Edelman and Gronkowski and guys like that, where he throws the ball short, very precise, a lot of precision, and things along those lines. The offense that they've been running with him in Tampa has been a complete antithesis of that. So I think during this off week, you're going to see them make some adjustments, and they have to because they're probably not going to win the division. I think New Orleans is going to have the NFC South wrapped up. But you have to be very careful if you start losing games and put yourself in a very crowded wild card discussion. And so that's what they need to do there. Tennessee at Jacksonville. I think the Titans win this game, but very interesting to see James Robinson, 108 scrimmage yards last week for Jacksonville, the rookie running back. He now joins Philip Lindsay as for the second most scrimmage yards by undrafted rookie in the common draft era. And so he is putting himself in very good company there. Indy at the Raiders, almost an elimination game in a way for these teams. I think you're looking at Indy finds himself still kind of in that division race. The Raiders, they're not going to win the division. Kansas City has that wrapped up pretty good. But you look at this contest, the pride of Ackworth and North Cobb High School, Darren Waller, very big performances for him recently. Has turned himself maybe to the best tight end in the NFL. Not 13 receptions for a career high 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in the Raiders' win last week at the Jets. A fourth tight end with at least 200 receiving yards and 2 TDs in a single game, joining Rich Castor, who, once again, if you knew that one, I would have, once again, give you a bucket of pride for that. And then obviously Shannon Sharp and Jackie Smith, Hall of Famers, also set those marks, 200 receiving yards in a contest. So that's going to be the big target for the Raiders, is trying to get him the ball. And you have to think about Indy. We saw them a few weeks ago get run over in a bad way against the Titans, but they rebounded last week with the 26-20 win at Houston. Phillip Rivers, 285 yards passing, 2 TDs. So now he's the fifth quarterback in NFL history to have 15 seasons with at least 3,000 passing yards. So respect to him in that regard. And he joins Tom Brady, Brett Favre, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning with those marks. And then Justin Houston, a big defensive end for Indy, 3 sacks and a safety in that victory. Only the fourth guy with at least 8 games, 3 more sacks since 2000, joining John Abraham, Julius Peppers, and DeMarcus Ware. So that's where you look at those guys as defensively and offensively, very good balance for Indy. So I'm very intrigued by that contest. The Jets head out to Seattle. Think about the Jets. Greg Williams getting fired, completely understandable. I think they're going to clean house anyway. In with the Jets, they're probably not going to win a game this year. Even though they play New England later on this year, they might get a win there. But they're going to clean house. You can't bring anyone back from an 0-16 or 1-15 season, whatever that is. But to go with that all-out blitz late in that contest against the Raiders, when all you have to do is play safeties deep and in a zone coverage and not go all out like that and allow the game-winning touchdown pass, it's one of those things where he wasn't. If he had to go, this was the time to do it. Completely understandable, but it's not going to save Adam Gase at all. I think we want to see what you have in Sam Darnold, if he's going to be the ultimate answer at quarterback. Yes, I know Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields will probably be the pick for them if they have the first or second pick, but you never know. Maybe Darnold, who I think has gotten not the best shape with the Jets. I think it's been a dysfunctional organization, dysfunctional setup, for him, and that would, especially with Adam Gase, maybe you get his value up in trade value, and you can flip him for a future pick and something along those lines. So that's what I want to see from that contest. Green Bay at Detroit. I think the Packers' role in this contest. Philip Rivers has 400 TD passes in his career, seventh player in NFL history to reach that mark. It surpassed Drew Brees with the fastest mark to reach that distinction. Uh, Rivers did no. Rodgers did it in 193 contests. Drew Brees did it in 205. So it just adds to another a set of accolades for Philip Rivers, for Aaron Rodgers. I got Rivers in my mind. For Aaron Rodgers to reach that mark. So I think you're going to see them continue to roll in Green Bay. I think you'll see Adams for their receiver, Devontae Adams. He had 10 receptions and 2 touchdowns in their win with Philadelphia last week. Now has at least 10 receptions, 100 receiving yards, and a TD catch this season. He's done that 4 times this year. Only Odell Beckham, Torrey Holt, and Michael Thomas have done that more in a season. So he's putting himself in some very good territory overall. And New Orleans at Philly. Obviously, what we're watching for this one is the Jalen Hurts debut as far as starting quarterback for the Eagles. I think that we all knew that at this stage of the season, you're going with Carson Wentz because of his salary, because he is the franchise guy. They're stuck with him for at least the next 2 years. And I know that no everyone is tradable, but if you look at the numbers and you look at what they've invested in him and his product, what he's produced, I don't think any team is going to take him on in that way. But it got to the point where he was just not playing well. I'm surprised that they didn't pull a move of having him not retire, having him come up with an injury and go on IR. Because technically he's still dressing and still playing in these contests. They could have said it was a bad shoulder, a bad knee, maybe the back. He's injured all those things throughout his career. So you could always say that he's struggling with that. You put him on IR. You let him take a mental break and physical break from the season, and you do it that way. But they still have him on the roster, actively playing. And you go with Jalen Hurts. Even you hear Doug Peterson saying he provides a spark for the team and something different. I don't know about all that, but it is something different. And you have to look at the way Wentz was playing. He wasn't producing at a high level. The slim playoff chances for the Eagles are pretty much kaput right now. So see what you have in Jalen Hurts. If he plays really well, you can always flip him and trade him to another team if he plays really good. And if he plays really bad, then you put him back on the bench and Wentz takes over. And I've heard people say, well, what if he plays really, really well and you trade him and you go back to Wentz who's been struggling? Look, the reality of finances are that you have to play Wentz. He's on your team. He's making the most money. And hopefully he gets in the off season and gets his body right and his mind right. And you go from there. So we'll see what happens in that contest. I think the rest of the games that you're seeing are pretty straightforward. Baltimore and Cleveland, very intriguing contest there. We saw the Ravens kind of get back to their winning ways with a dominant victory over the Cowboys. We saw that coming. When you have a historically bad defense as far as points per game, I think they're on pace. If they keep this up, to have the second worst points per game record or mark in the history of the NFL. So when you're that historically bad and you give up so many rushing yards, you're giving up 250 plus rushing yards per contest. You knew that the Ravens, who probably have the best rushing attack in the NFL, and that's their approach to things, that was going to be a big night. And it surely was. They rushed for 250 plus yards as a team, and they're able to roll. Now, they face a Cleveland team that is 9 wins, guaranteed a non-losing season for the first time in a very long time, and they are in a very, very good position. I think this contest is going to come down to if the Browns, if they can run the ball, control the clock with Hunts and Chubb as their running backs, they have a very good shot of winning that contest. So we're very intrigued to see what happens there. Let's transition to the technical state of Georgia athletics and discuss some college basketball. We were able to watch the Georgia State men's basketball team earn a victory over Charlotte last Friday, 76-65 in Charlotte. And Georgia State is now 3-1 on the season. They had 11 three-pointers in the contest and were able to use a pair of 8-0 runs in the second half to secure the victory. And that was a very big contest for the Panthers. We were able to speak with head coach Rob Lanier about the victory.
By a really good and well-coached team. And for the next couple of days, our energy level, we were really licking our wounds. And there was there was an air around the team that, we just hadn't gotten off the canvas and moved on. So we had a real hard message for these guys the last night or so, and for them to come out and respond the way they did today makes me feel like I got my team back. And so that's a real gratifying feeling against a good team that runs a really sophisticated offense. They execute very well. They're a good defensive team and really well coached. So we were going to have to put out a really sustained and concentrated defensive effort. And we were able to do that. And we shared the ball more. The Mercer game, we really beat ourselves in a lot of ways with our shot selection, our decisions, and our turnovers. But tonight we look more like a team, and that feels good.
And that was Rob Lanier discussing the win for the Panthers. And JoJo Toppin, a new player for the team, very big performance for him. Career high 16 points, went 5 for 5 from the 3-point line and hit all 6 of his free throw attempts. And so it had 5 rebounds, which is career high, and 4 assists. So big night for JoJo. And here is Coach Lanier's thoughts on it.
Yeah, really proud of JoJo. I think the learning curve for JoJo is great because I think he's trying to figure out, all right, what does being a good player look like? And to his credit, he's trusting us with our message as it relates to that. And I think that's what you saw tonight, simplifying his game, knowing what his strengths are and trying to be great inside of those qualities. And he did that tonight. He was defensively, he was active. He rebounded the ball at a high level. He's obviously a tremendous athlete, and he played a game where you could really see how his athleticism can have an effect on the game. So I'm really, really proud of him.
Senior Kane Williams, he had a team-high 18 points, and he scored his 1,000th point of his career very early in the contest. So he's now the 23rd Panther in team history to reach that mark. And Lanier talked about Kane Williams and his contribution.
Well, you know what? Every time we play, I don't always call Ron Hunter and thank him. But I say to myself, thanks, brother. But when I do talk to him, I definitely let him know how much I appreciate the fact that they had done such a good job and recruited some good players. And, one of my biggest challenges or one of my biggest goals is to earn Kane's trust. I think Kane has the potential to be a great leader. And I have trust in him. I want him to believe in what we're doing. And I think our relationship with him as a staff and my relationship with him personally as his coach, you can see the growth there. I feel that growth. I hear the way he talks to his teammates. And he's a great competitor. He's a great young man. And I'm really excited to watch him grow as the season progresses. And, he's got a lot more potential. And I think his best basketball still is in front of him this season. So I'm excited about what Kane has brought to us.
And Corey Allen had 4 3-pointers in the contest as well. Scored 14 points and 6 rebounds. And Ryan Boyce chipped in 10 points. But as I said, the Panthers came back from deficits in the second half to earn a victory. And this is what Lanier said about that.
Well, we were creating good shots. We only shot 37% in the first half, but we missed some really good shots. And we allowed the offense to produce those shots for us. So we felt like we were on the right track. And we thought that as the game went on that we could wear on them. And we sensed that was happening in the first half. And so our message at halftime was to continue to do that eventually the shots would fall. And we got some shots to fall. And we rebounded the ball at a high level. Our defensive intensity sustained itself throughout the course of the second half. And we had a little bit of a breakthrough there in terms of, the latter part of the second half where we had some shot making.
And those were cool. That was Georgia State basketball. They have some contests coming up in the future. We'll be keeping track of that. Very big week for Georgia Tech men's basketball. Able to defeat Kentucky 79-62 last Sunday. First time Georgia Tech defeated a top 25 team away from McCain-Mitch Pavilion since 2015. And so that was a very impressive win for them. First time since 2006, they defeated a non-conference top 25 team. So that was a very interesting note there. Moses Wright scored his third consecutive game of at least 20 points or more at 21 against Kentucky. He's really become a go-to threat for the Yellow Jackets. And the Yellow Jackets continued the positive momentum, defeating Nebraska 75-64, and on the road in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Yes, I got that correct. So very big week for Georgia Tech and getting big victories in there. We were able to get talk to Josh Pastner, head coach of the Yellow Jackets, about the victory.
Yep. First off, great win for the Yellow Jackets. Really proud of our guys. Two things that really stick out. Nebraska came in, averaging about 80 points a game and a very high octane offensive team. And, we really guarded tonight. Back-to-back games, we played at a high level, or who we need to be and who we are and what our staple is defensively. We held them to 37% from the field and 34 from three. I thought our changing of defenses tried to, kept them off rhythm. So we were really proud of our defense. And then secondly, they came in forcing teams into almost 20 turnovers a game and 12 steals a game they're getting, which was top 10 in the country. And once again, we took care of the ball. Had single-digit turnovers, only 9. We didn't shoot the ball great. We had a lot of open shots we didn't make that we usually do, but we won the game through defense and through ball sharing. One of our mottos is our go-to man is the open man, and we found the open man. We didn't let it stick. We always like to talk about it. The ball needs to be like a hot potato or a hot stove where the thing's moving. And everyone, moved the ball. We got good looks, and even on our misses, we found ways to compete and fight and win the game through defense and through good ball movement allowed us to win the game.
Jose Alvarado had 24 points, including 19 in the second half. Here are his thoughts on the victory.
I just got in the groove, back to my little groove. My teammates just encouraged me to keep on playing how I was playing. And, they helped me a lot, getting open, making open shots, just making me look real good. Coach just was running good sets, and I was just getting I was making shots and looking good.
Moses Wright didn't score 20 points for the first time in a long time, but he scored 11 of 13 of his points in the second half to help lead that charge. Here's Moses Wright and his thoughts on the victory.
They came out double teaming, so I already knew they were going to come out double teaming. I prepared for that in practice and everything, so it was more so not really like they took me out. Well, they took me out scoring wise, but it was more so I was trying to get everybody else going. But since I know it was going to be a double team, hit the wide open man, and get wide open threes and backdoors and cutters and all that.
And those are Georgia Tech's thoughts for men's basketball. That's a very good week for them with wins over Kentucky and Nebraska, and they're going to keep it rolling there. Georgia Tech football, they lost at home to Pitt 34-20 last night. Really tough contest for them. Third game in 13 days. You could tell they were fatigued, and it's just been a tough stretch for them. And Jeff Collins, their head coach, expressed those emotions in the post-game comments.
Really proud of those guys in there. They fought their butts off. They played together 3 games in 13 days, and they just kept battling and battling no matter who was in the game, no matter what kind of shortages we might have had at personnel groupings. They kept fighting and they kept battling all the way till the end. There were some things that were completely outside of our control that affected us. We just got to keep playing, and they did. They just kept battling and battling, whatever the circumstances happened to them. And I'm really very proud of that group of men, the way they handled adversity, the way they've handled this entire season, the way they've handled no games for 28 days, 3 games in 13 days, and just kept fighting and battling. And those are the things that you can build a program around. What those men did tonight under some things that were outside of their control, and they just kept fighting. Really, really proud of that group of men. Kelly, I'm not proud of myself because I did not. maintain my composure at times. The message to our guys, there's one person that is allowed to make their voices heard throughout the games or even after the games. And I did. And I will continue to, because I will fight for those dudes every single day, every game, every off-season event, every single second. I will fight for those dudes. And they just got to continue to play at a high level and not let outside circumstances affect them. They have to maintain their composure, regardless of the things and the chaos and the mayhem that are going on around them. Continue to get the calls, continue to communicate with their teammates, continue to battle and fight at a high level, which they did. And we've just got to continue to do that and continue to learn that. And sometimes those are hard lessons to learn. And my message to them tonight was, that is life. And you have to create margin in the game of football. You have to create margin in life to be able to have an edge. Because if you let things be 50-50, then there's going to be a chance that things can be swayed one way or the other, regardless of who is the determinant on those things that can happen. So we just got to continue to grow, continue to develop, continue to battle, continue to prepare to give us that edge and to create some margin as we move forward. And those guys in there, they will do it.
And that was Jeff Collins, very passionate, very emotional about the team and them really putting up with the adversity. And so they're just got to keep it rolling and try to find out what happens there. Georgia Tech women's basketball, it would defeat Boston College 86-68 in their first ACC contest of the season. They had a lot of Maj Alanathan, had a career-high 27 points, and Georgia Tech had 12 steals in the contest, hit a lot of three-pointers. But here is Coach Nell Fortner about the victory.
Pleased with that. Just thought our effort and our focus was just right on point to start this game. Really pleased with how our guards came out and shot the ball and really had just confidently stepped up and shot the ball. That's the best we've shot the three, I think, since I've been here, shooting at 41%, 10 for 24. So that's a really good day from the three-point line. So really, really proud of them. I thought defensively we did our job through three quarters. I thought we had a letdown in the fourth quarter and just kind of took the pedal off the gas, and that part has to be addressed and fixed. But I'm really pleased with the effort today from this team.
And as I mentioned, they hit a lot of three-pointers and took advantage of perimeter opportunities. Here's Coach Fortner discussing those outside shooting opportunities.
Well, I think that it's exciting to start conference play. That's one thing. The kids are, and you get to start it at home, and you're wanting to, take a lot of pride in defending your home court. So I thought they really came out good and focused. So yeah, it's practices. You have good days and bad days, but not every day is great, Rod. So, but we were ready today, and it was good to see the outcome. And look, if we can keep playing like that and keep shooting the three ball like that, I'll take it. To knock down 10 threes, which I thought were all really good looks at the basket. So I'm really pleased with that. And it's something that we want to do this year. We want it to be a better 3-point shooting team. This is definitely the best game we've had this year from behind the arc. So was really pleased with my 5 for 8 from the three is I'll take that every game.
All right, that was the technical state of Georgia athletics. And I'll wrap up some thoughts on the NBA. Since our last show, a lot's gone down. We'll start with the Houston Rockets. They've been very active. The John Wall trade, they acquired him and sent Russell Westbrook to Washington. I think he had two, I'll say the worst contracts in the NBA, because I think both those guys, when they're playing at their peak level, are all-star caliber players, but they really can only be traded for each other. And I think Houston, new general manager, new head coach, they're trying to rebuild and go from there. They bring in John Wall. I think Russell Westbrook could do well in Washington. Him and Bradley Beal, I think, could be a good combination. They'll definitely be a playoff team, or they should be in the running for that. But I think that Houston, now with James Harden, I know he's disgruntled and unhappy, with the situation. But look, he has 2 years left on his contract. Unless you trade for LeBron, Anthony Davis, maybe Giannis, you're not going to get equal value for James Harden. And I think the Rockets realize that. It's weird because Harden signed that massive deal. Seemed like he co-signed on Silas being the new head coach, and a week or two later, he's unhappy. Now, I'm not saying that he can't have a change of heart and not have a change of opinion, but man, that's just a very odd scenario going on there. And this is why you have to be very careful with him. It seemed like him and Westbrook, they were best buddies. They got along well, but then they started playing together, and it just didn't work out. And I think he also realizes. You look at the Lakers, look at the Clippers, probably the Nuggets, and some other teams that are in the West that are putting themselves in a very good position to make some long runs. And in Houston, Harden's done all you can individually. He's been an MVP. He's won multiple scoring titles. He's done all you really can, except put together a good postseason run. And he's never appeared in the finals with the Rockets. When he was a member of the Thunder, earlier in his career, he made it to the finals. But that was a team with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant on that squad as well. So you add all of that together, and he looks at the landscape overall. He's got his money. He's got his title. He's got his individual titles, but he's not in championship contention for a team title. So I don't know what they're going to do with that. I think they're going to start the season with him. Now, the trade deadline, things may be different. Maybe a Philadelphia, or I'm trying to think of another team, because you can make a Ben Simmons type of swap if it doesn't go well starting in Philadelphia with with Doc Rivers as new head coach. Now Daryl Morey is new GM of the Rockets, and him and Harden seem to be really tight. So that'd be obviously a good transition for Harden going there if that's of interest. But I think if you're the Rockets, you stand pat, you hold firm, and you don't just immediately trade him away. And so I think that's what you're going to see there as far as what's going on. And that concludes the latest edition of the Sports Inquirer Show. Thanks for listening. And if you want to follow everything that we're doing, head to thesportsinquirer.net, and that'll give you all the details of all the stuff that we're doing. You can also go to our Twitter and Instagram pages on the Sports Inquirer. That's all one word. Facebook, we've got 2 pages on there, Sports Inquirer and Sports Inquirer. And then finally, subscribe to us on SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcast, and iTunes under the Sports Inquirer. Just search us on there, and you'll find everything that we're doing. Well, the next time, good fight, good night, be safe.